Hey, sixth grade. For the next couple of days, we're going to be doing some stations that will help us learn least common multiple and greatest common factor. These are two different ideas in math, but they always get lumped together, and sixth graders typically have a really challenging time trying to tell the difference between them. So your goal in the next couple of days is to really understand, what is the least common multiple? What does that mean? How do I find it? What is greatest common factor and how do I find it? Okay, make that your goal, to be able to tell the difference between these two. There might be some similarities that you notice while you're working on the problems with your teams, but when we take our assessment on this, you need to be able to tell the difference and show me how to find them. Right here, there are some definitions for you. The greatest common factor of two whole numbers is the greatest whole number that is a factor of each number. I know that sounds really wordy, but that's an academic definition. And then we have the least common multiple of two whole numbers is the smallest whole number greater than 0 that is a multiple of each number. So, in short, we're going to call greatest common factor GCF and least common multiple LCM. And hopefully by the end of this, like I said, you'll have some definitions that make a little bit more sense than these. Some key words that I do want to point out is that we're working with whole numbers. Whole numbers. We're working with factors and multiples, which you learned about in a previous lesson. So you might want to pull out some notes that look something like this to help you if you forget or if you need a reminder about what is a factor, what is a multiple. Right now, I'm going to do one example of GCF with you and then one example of LCM. After this video, when we start our stations, you'll learn other strategies to do LCM and GCF problems, and then as you're developing your definitions, you can pick the strategies that make the most sense to you. Okay, so this is an overview, just a place to start, and then we'll get in deeper with our stations. All right, let's take a look at greatest common factor. When they ask you to find greatest common factor, they'll say, find the GCF of this and this, two different numbers. Sometimes they even give you three numbers. So here they're asking us to find what is the greatest common factor that 12 and 18 share. Remember, factors are what we multiply to get the product. So in order to do this, we need to write out all of the numbers that we can multiply together that will give us 12 and that will give us 18. So I know 1 times 12 is 12. I know 2 times 6 is 12. And I know 3 times 4 is 12. For the number 18, I know 1 times 18 is 18. I know 2 times 9 is 18, and I know 3 times 6 is 18. I'm going to use circles. It tells us right here, list them out, use circles and then triangles. So our circles will show all the factors that appear on both of these lists. Okay, well, I see a 1 in both of the lists. I also see a 2 and a 3 and 6. I don't see 12 in both. I don't see 4 in both. I don't see 18 in both, and I don't see 9 in both. Okay, so those are all the factors that they share, but the greatest common factor means what is the biggest factor that's in both of these. And that answer we're showing with our triangle is 6. Our final answer, we need to write out the GCF of 12 and 18 is 6. All right, now let's take a look at least common multiple. Like I said, there are other strategies that you can use to solve these, but this is just a place to start. When we're doing a least common multiple problem, we're not looking at factors. Remember, multiples are what we get by multiplying a given number by another. So to start this, they give us two numbers. Find the LCM of 12 and 18. First, we need to write the multiples of 12. And they suggest writing out 10 multiples. Okay, let's see how we do. 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 12 times 3 is 36. 12 times 4 is 48. And then they want us to keep listing until we have 10 numbers. 12 times 10 is 120. Now they want us to write out the multiples of 18. All right, 18 times 1 is 18. 18 times 2 is 36. Then 54, 72, 90. I'm going to help you out since we haven't practiced math facts for 18. Okay, so I have all of my multiples written out for 12 and for 18. Now they want us to circle the numbers that appear on both lists. Hey, that's pretty similar to what we just did with that GCF problem. Okay, well I see, 36 is in both. I don't see 12 in both. I don't see 24, 18. I see 72 in both lists. And the only other one I see in both is 108. 126, 120, no. Yep, so those are the only 3 multiples that appear in both lists. Okay, now I want to look at the numbers that we circled. And I'm not circling the greatest number, like in GCF. Least common multiple asks us for what's the smallest multiple that they share. The smallest multiple that they share that both lists have is 36. And here they want us to put a box. Did we circle the multiples that appear on both lists? Yep. Did we put a rectangle around the least common? Yep. So our final answer we'll write out like this. The least common multiple, or the LCM, of 12 and 18 is 36. All right, so you'll see in your packet that station 1 work starts here. Station 2, we have to flip, starts here. Station 3 starts here, so you have to find these bold headings in your packets. And then finally, station 4 is here. Just make sure at every station, after you complete the work for that station, that you highlight your name that's on the class list at that station, so I know really easily who's completed the work at each station.